Oh, Griff, your gas, yeah. Put some chips in the bowl if you're feeling sorry for the little bitch. While I gather my chi. Painting, go, 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 go. Painting, go. Oh, for fuck's sake, every time. And it's you again, you fucking slut. Back off, Dana. Had enough of Dana. Painting, go. Fuck Dana from StreamYard. Fuck that bitch. Paintingu. Right. Any tips that went in the ball, they're all mine. He gets none of them. I simply use your pity for that little bitch to guilt trip you into sending me money so that I won't beat him off stream. Iokoso to Paintingu. Welcome, one and all. Happy fucking Friday. I am tired. I'm a little bit cranky. The sink has not been fixed. In fact, you could easily argue that I inadvertently made it worse. But what actually happened was, as I went to fix it, the attempt of just simply putting it back together actually broke it further. Which to me is simply a sign of shoddy workmanship. Wouldn't have come apart in the first place if it had been put together correctly. Whole week now of just stress about that fucking sink. But 'tis life. Among other things, family issues, trying to just put it all to one side and just create and draw things. In the last few days, I've managed to throw some sketches together for that redhead comic thing that I want to do. And every time I find myself sitting down and actually having the time and the energy to just quickly sketch something up with markers or some shit, I do get a sense of excitement, that it would take a long time and a lot of work, but it'd be worth it to tell a story of adventure, triumph, hardship, deception, loyalty, honor, delayed gratification, toiling through various obstacles, mental, spiritual, physical. Those are the video games I love the most. Is stuff based on all of that, skill based, makes you think, requires strategy, forward thinking, or highly tuned reactions in the moment, like a proper fucking samurai. Oh god, forgive me if I am low energy today. I get to sleep till about 3 in the morning. I spent most of my afternoon yesterday walking around the town, acquiring resources to fix this fucking sink. And just my experience was quite frustrating. The first place I went to, I was basically sent on an adventure. This is typically Irish, If this happened to like either one of you guys, like you'd laugh your fucking ass off, But more than likely would also agree with me that it is incredibly frustrating. Go to the first place, which is the local co-op store. Has various supplies, Everything from potato starters to electric radiators to farming implements. A lot of variety. A lot of handy shit. And I asked the man at the desk about do they have any lengths of PVC pipe? I'm looking for a joint or a pipe that can marry 2 pipes under the sink. And he looked at me and he smiled. And he said, what you want to do is you want to go around the corner and talk to the lads. It's so Irish. He's like, you need to go around here and talk to the boys, yeah? Like, the lads are down there in the shed, like. He takes me outside the shop, points down left, into, like, the way in an industrial estate, there would be, like, a whole section that is, like, concrete or tarmac or, asphalt, as you call it, or whatever. And then there's various buildings on the property, And he basically told me to go behind the property to the left to, like, what looks like just, like, warehouses where they keep a load of stock, So it was basically, like, he was basically telling me to leave the shop and go right to the source. And, like, he did give me, like, solid directions. He was like, you go left, you go over there, there's a big shed, you go in the shed, and you go left again, and in the corner is, like, everything we have. And you can talk to the lads if, like, you need help or whatever. And I was like, yeah, cool. So I find the shelves with the stuff. And I don't even know what the fuck I'm looking at, I'm looking at, like, lengths 3 inches long to, like, U-bends with, like, threaded connections or unthreaded connections, lengths of PVC pipe that have, like, a insert in the center of them halfway down, so it like you couldn't just slip it all the way over another pipe, like it would stop, and then you'd, like, put another pipe into the other end, like they're called joiners or some shit, like, really self-explanatory stuff, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I played with a lot of Kinects and Lego and fucking all that shit when I loved Lego Technic, like Bionicles were fucking savage, like, and I have an engineering mind, so when I looked at the problem underneath the sink, I was like, okay, really basic problem, that pipe has a natural tendency because it's too short and the angle it's sitting at, going into under the sink, has a natural tension that's it wants to come back, it wants to sit further back about 3 inches towards the back of the house, towards the wall, away from the sink, So, like, the U bend of the sink is, like, say, say I'll use the canvas. So like this is the U bend to the sink, and it has like a the basic U bend coming out of the sink, and then a 90-degree connection with a thread on it, right? And the other pipe is just the length of PVC pipe coming from the outside wall, and it itself already has like a 90-degree turn in the other end and shit. And there's no thread on the end of that. It just sits in the it just sits in the connection, and then proceeds to slip right the fuck out like some pencil dick nigga. Um, so it's very frustrating that that was even how it was put together in the first place. I was discussing this with the female last night, and it's kind of like a thing that is known. I remember hearing about it a lot when we first moved into the family home back in Lucan, like 20 odd years ago when my parents were still together. I would have been about 9, 10 years of age when we moved in. And I remember my father complaining a lot about the state of the house when we actually moved in, and like because it was a brand spanking new house in a brand spanking new housing estate. There were still large portions of the estate when we moved in that were just freshly laid muck. The grass hadn't even started to grow yet because the whole area had been, deforested and fucking like dug up and made into an area suitable to put like a couple of thousand houses in the space of months, right? And these things were knocked up. These houses were thrown together, absolutely thrown together. One of the first issues that really started to make my dad irritated was the studs in the walls, in the drywall, in the plasterboard that's on the wall. Like you got the timber frame behind that, and then you got the insulation in between and stuff. Like most of the fucking walls were so fucking thin and like hollow sounding that they didn't even appear to have insulation in them. Like the amount of times I just put my hand through the wall and I was like, "Where's all the stuff?" Sometimes there was like a big load of furry insulation and shit, but there was a lot of gaps. And I put my fucking hand through the wall a few times in a few different places in the house. But one of the first things that happened was we started to see the studs. Like you basically got these big long nails that the plasterboard is nailed to the frame, right? And whatever way they did it, they either used like plasterboard that was too thin, or nails that were too long, or some shit, like, or they didn't sit them in deep enough, or some shit. But there was just circles, well, not perfect circles. There was the whole area around where the nail was would just come off. It would just crack, as if there was like if imagine this is the wall, right? And you've nailed it into the frame, the bit of plasterboard, and you've nailed it into the frame, into the timber frame, and where the nail has gone in, a bubble, a very like couple of millimeters of a bubble just like comes out. It's like they built it in summer and didn't account for winter or some kind of shit, where like they didn't account for the settling and the expansion of the materials used. Thank you. During the construction of the houses. And that's not even to talk about the state of the plumbing. Oh God, I remember when my father left and all, and he fucking took most of his fucking tools with him. There was a leak one time in the house coming out of my mother's ensuite, and it was trickling down through the. Yeah, that's what. Jesus, here's a fucking story for you actually. So I come home one day from school with my friend Orla. So it's about like 4-ish, 3-ish maybe, 3 or 4-ish, and walk in, and the first thing I hear is running water, and I was like, "What the fuck?" The light, like I was gonna say chandelier, but it wasn't a chandelier. It was just like a big black chandelier looking light fixture. My ma is one of those very like really annoying interior designers. One thing I noticed about the house when I visited recently is how gaudy everything looks. It's all like a combination of lilac and white and silver and stuff. It's just like, ugh. Whatever. Um, me and my friend Orla walk into the gaff, and I'm just like, oh my god, what's going on? Because all I can hear is running water. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, and you know when you can hear it, where it's like hitting the ground, it's hitting the floor, and it's like that sound of that's it. It's almost comparable to like when you hear somebody get sick. You know, you can just hear splashing on the surface, and you're like, that there's something up. Like, so I legged it into the dining room because I could hear like that's where it was coming from. It was in that direction. You know, I was praying it was the kitchen, but it was the dining room section beside the kitchen. And that at the time, that's where my setup was with my monitor and my Xbox and the PC and all. Like, and I just see the light fixture is has come loose from the ceiling and is just resting like on the table on the dining room table, and there's just water cascading down. Like I'm like what 14, 15 at the time. I've no fucking building construction experience. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm still in fucking school. Even the work experience I did in a fucking bicycle shop. Like, I ended up later doing building construction experience, work experience through the school, through a lad. His uncle worked in the, or his, a lad in my year. It was his uncle, and it was down in a local area, so it was nice and handy. Like, but that was actually one of the reasons why I chose that. I was like, I need to learn how to like build shit and how shit works in the house and stuff like that. I didn't know how to turn like the mains off and stuff. That was actually the first thing I did. Well, no, it was the second thing I did. The first thing I did when I realized all the water was fucking barreling out of a hole in the ceiling. Uh, I was like, me Xbox. Just thinking back now, like, do you know what I mean? Like, that genuinely was my number one priority. I saw a load of water coming out of the ceiling in the dining room, and the first thing I thought about was my fucking Xbox and the PC and the monitor in the corner of the dining room are going to get fucking destroyed. So I legged it over the other side of the room, over a load of water. I'd take my skill bag off and all, like, and unplugged everything in seconds. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm surprised it didn't fucking damage it, like trying to unplug it, like, and then like moved it all into the sitting room. And like, it wasn't like a leak, it wasn't like a drip, like, do you know what I mean? It was like full on, just like some pipe had come loose or burst or whatever like that, and it was just pissing out the ceiling, like. So in a panic, I ring me mate at the time, like my best friend, um, who was a few years older than me, like, you know, and it kind of like his parents had also gotten divorced and shit like that, and he had like not only was he a few years older than me, but he was like more experienced and stuff like that. Like from what I thought at the time, anyway. Like, I was like, chap, I rang him, and he was like, "You all right?" Like, he was out refing a hurling match at the time, and I was like, the reason I rang him is because I knew my dad would be in work, you know, and like I knew my dad would be in work, and not only would be in work, but would tell me that it's my mother's problem because he no longer lives with us. Like, that was his attitude all the time. He wouldn't even set foot in the house, and the shit we were dealing with. And there was no point ringing me mother because her reaction to something like this is just to panic and then to ask me what to fucking do and then ring an expert, you know. Um, but we had to do something now. You know, I couldn't just like ring up a plumber and like, you know, discuss fucking costs and all that shit. Like, you know, like engage in paying, like, you know, having to pay someone immediately. I was like, there has to be a way to just like turn off the water and then we can assess the problem, like, you know. So I ring me mate and I'm like freaking out. I'm like, there's water just coming out of the fucking ceiling. What do I do? He's like, you have to turn off the mains. I don't know where, but like, there's like a valve somewhere. It's either like under the sink or in the hot press or something, like, and you need to like turn that shit so the water will like stop coming out. Like, I was like, okay. So I then spent the next 15 minutes to half an hour trying to find this thing that I could turn so that the water would stop. And I must have like turned the radiators off, or like, so like there was so many valves that I found like under the sink and like in the fucking in the hot press. And then I was like, is it in the attic? Do I have to get up in the attic and turn this fucking thing off? Do I need to lift up a plate outside the house or at the side of the house? Is it at the side of the house where the gas meter is? Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I haven't a clue. And the whole time, the fucking dining room's just filling up with water. Like I put shit down, I put pots down and stuff like that and all. Like, but it wasn't enough. Like, do you know what I mean? It was just like billowing out of the stuff, like and all. Like, towels were just getting instantly sopping wet. And the whole time, my mate Orla's just standing there, like, she's like a 15-year-old young one. She, like, what's she gonna do? She's just like, oh my god, like, this is crazy. And then more of my friends came over and shit. They were just like, bro, what the fuck? And then it was just like this exciting situation we found ourselves in. So my mate Luke shows up in his car, still in his ref's uniform, like, And he like gets out of the car. He's like, "Did you find it?" No, I'm like, "No, there's still water coming out." And then he found it. It was under the sink, but it wasn't where I looked. It was like a different section. And I was like, "Oh yeah, like that even looks like a just like a turn it off kind of thing, like big red lever on it or whatever." Like, and finally fucking stopped the water, and then we're all just standing there, like looking at this fucking disaster in the dining room. Just everything sopping wet. Like, we had wooden floors. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like so like we started mopping up shit and all, like, but then like obviously it probably, like, either way it's bad. Like, if you had a carpet, like the carpet would have soaked it up like all up and shit, but then the carpet would have had the dry in it and probably would have had a damp smell to it and shit if you didn't clean it properly. Like, but like with the wooden floors, initially you're like, oh, okay, we can just mop this all up. But then very quickly it becomes apparent that like everything got so wet that like things are starting to warp out of place now. And like, because the light fixture that my ma had in place in the dining room was this big black, like, fucking heavy thing. Like, it legit had a chain on it and all, like, do you know what I mean? Like a length of chain about this long. And like the light fixture wire ran up through the middle of the chain and stuff like that. Like, so it looked very like gothic and cool or whatever. Um, but the weight of the thing, the fucking weight of the thing, like, And then, like, so we're trying to deal with that problem, and me ma doesn't know what to fucking do apart from, because like, this is why women shouldn't make decisions about anything. And I had to deal with so much of this stuff from a young age, like from a teenage young fella, just wrapped up in my own emotions from my parents, like, getting divorced and my life just being like an absolute stress. Like, everything was just so traumatizing. Like, and I'm trying to deal with like how to be handy as just a young man in your own home. Like, do you know what I mean? Trying to learn what tools are for what and stuff. Like the only experience I had was the carpentry shit that I was doing in school at the time. Like, so like I knew so little. Like, do you know, the first time I fixed a plug, like I did, like, I didn't even fix it. Like, do you know what I mean? I just opened it up and replaced the fuse. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, first time I ever did that and got the lawnmower to work again, I was just like, oh, this shit's like easy. Like, I just like took my experience from building shit with Lego, like, and like overlaid that over every scenario. I was like, okay, what are the parts involved? How do they work mechanically? And how, like, we'll go from there. Like, what's missing? Did something break? Like, and I get so frustrated when I come, like, I'd say most guys do. Like, I'd say Griff, Demon Hunter, I'd say you're the same. Like, where you come across an issue and you're like, this wouldn't be such a pain in the hole for me now in this moment trying to fix this if the person who built it in the first place had the fucking, you know, discipline, foresight, and like just element of not being a fucking lazy bastard to like build it properly in the first place. Like, do you know what I mean? You're dealing with the consequences of someone's lack of adherence to protocol, like basic fundamental like engineering protocol. Like, that's what really pissed me off about the sink here, like in the last week or so, is noticing that the way it's set up invited problems to happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, the way it's built, you just look at it and you're like, that's not gonna last. That's not going to last. Like, and it's very easy to see why. And in the process of trying to fix it, do you know, it's not like the stereotypical fucking thing where like you see the white dad get all these tools out and be like, I'll fix it, like, you know, and he just like absolutely wrecks the place. Like, all that happened was that pipe came out, and all I tried to do was just put it back in, and that is all it took to make that problem exponentially worse. You know, the simple action of me trying to put the pipe back in to the 90-degree angle from the U bend caused the other end of that pipe to detach from the wall, like behind the sink, 3 foot down, and more water went all over the place. I'm like, what the fuck? Now I have to get into that and put that back on and all this shit. And now the fucking I've realized that more than likely when that happened, even though I fixed that problem, like almost within minutes, I was like, all right, cool, bang bang, like back together. When that happened, it seems to have disconnected from the dishwasher outlet as well, which you can see is like, you know, a pipe with a screw, a circular screw bit, you know, and a thread on it. But that's also just going onto a pipe with no thread. It's just slotted on. Like, and if you were gonna do that, like, you know, at least put some fucking tape or glue or something. Like, it's just like, doop. And like, when water rushes through pipes, there's movement. You know, when there's a difference in temperature between summer and winter and shit, like all like I know these things, and I know they're like really fundamental, basic shit. And then I look at this stuff and I'm just like, you just know that the guy who put it together quite often said, "Ah, that'll do," you know, "That'll hold. Ah, it'll be grand. It'll be grand." Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the attitude I'm dealing with. You know, I'm dealing with the consequences of that attitude having been the thing that built this thing. Like, do you know what I mean? And I came across the same attitude, to circle back to my original story. I came across the same attitude trying to find parts to remedy the problem. So I go in to that place, and your man's like, you know, talking to me like about like, oh, you'll need this and stuff, because I took a photo of the fucking shit I was dealing with, and he's like, oh, you'll need one of these and you need one of these and all, like, oh, we don't have any of them, and how like, you know, what's the diameter of the pipe and stuff, like. And basically he came to the conclusion that like I would have to go to this other guy on the other side of town, and he would definitely have what I needed, like, you know. So I go to that nigga, and the place is closed 2 days in a row, because stupid me thinks that people, like, you know, open their businesses early, like, during the week. So it turns out that this chap doesn't fucking open that place up until like half 1 in the fucking half 1 in the afternoon, like lunchtime, like, because he like does deliveries or something like early on in the day. So I finally get a hold of this chap, explain the problem to him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I have what you need." Like, and what does he give me? One of the parts that the other lads had, and then he hands me a tub of glue. So I was just standing there looking at this old guy, and I'm like, he looks like an old plumber, you know, or an old building contractor, and it's like you would think that, like, from and looking at his business and stuff, like, you would think that this guy would really know his shit, given his age, and like how other people have like recommended him. You know, a business down the road was like, "Oh, fucking PJ will have what you need," like, you know. And this chap gives me what those guys had: a 3 inch length of PVC pipe called a joiner, you know, and it's got like a circle in the middle of it, like I said earlier, so you can like bam bam with two other pipes. No thread on it, no nothing, like, you know. And in fairness, when I got it home, there is a firm fit on the thing, like, you know. But he didn't even fucking give me a rubber washer. I had to ask him for one, because I knew that the other end, like, you know, wasn't going to be as firm of a fit because of the different, like, slightly different diameter, and the fact that the other end has a thread. So like the outside of the end of the pipe has like a slightly different surface. It's not like flush. Not to mention the pipe coming from the fucking wall, whatever way your man cut it originally, is actually cut at an angle. So like trying to like fit it all together when I got home and shit, I was just like, not only is the 3 inch length of pipe he gave me too fucking long, like this chap gave me a part and was like, oh yeah, just get a hacksaw and cut that to size. And I was just like, I don't even have a hacksaw in the house. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't fucking like I didn't go out when me and Emma moved here 2 years ago. I didn't go out and like acquire myself a load of fucking like random tools that I may or may not need. Like, do you know, that shit's expensive. Like, do you know what I mean? I've slowly picked shit up over the time. Like, I have a decent hammer, I have a decent wood saw. Do you know what I mean? I have some various screwdrivers and pliers and stuff like that in case stuff around the house needs like fixing or refitting or some shit like that. Like, put shelves up and shit. Like, I don't have the fucking equipment lying around to like hack a bit of PVC pipe in half and fucking glue it to fix the sink. Like, and like these are all things that I've like wanted to get interested in later for like when I'm like building my own place and stuff like that. So it's even more frustrating to witness somebody else's shoddy workmanship and like half-ass fucking workmanship. It's so disheartening because it's like fucking like no wonder a lot of people in that uh in that environment in that vocation um are so like stressed out all the time. Like, do you know what I mean? Because like I said earlier, I did work with a building contractor for a while. Like, did work experience when I was in school. Chap paid me cash in hand as well, which was amazing. Um, and the shit I saw, you know, you expect like you expect a well, I did and still do, but you expect a level of professionalism, you know, especially considering when you see like the money these guys make, like just like fat stacks for like uh, ripping a gaff apart down to its bare bones and then putting a load of cinder blocks in with mortar and then like putting a timber frame in and then putting fucking you know electrics and stuff like that. Like, yeah, it's a lot of labor, but it's not rocket science. Like, once you've done it once, you're like, oh, this is very like obvious and simple. Like, do you know what I mean? Cable go through wall. Fucking like, how do you put cable through wall? Drill hole in wall. Like, do you know what I mean? It's not fucking rocket science. But the amount of corner cutting, and I'd say it's simply due to time, which makes no sense because if you take longer to build the thing, you can charge more. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd be the type of builder to be like, yeah, this is gonna take me about 2 weeks. 8 hours a day, all this fucking shit. Like, gonna cost you about 3 grand. But when I'm done, it would like be like slick. Do you know what I mean? Like I've only ever seen one time. I saw I think it was a plumber come to the house in Lucan. We had various issues with the house over the years. I mean, the way my ma dealt with them was fucking ridiculous. Like, do you know what I mean? She would like go on not YouTube. She would go on like she would just Google plumber, and she would try and find a local guy who's really cheap, who like isn't under like a corporation or a business, right? So like this lad isn't beholden to anyone. He's just like a freelance dude who does a bit of plumbing. Like, do you know what I mean? And she thinks that because he'll give her like a fairly cheap quote, that she's like, oh, that'd be grand. Like, do you know what I mean? And I remember there was one that was like, the second he came in, I was like, I don't like this guy. He seems like the type. He seems like the type of cowboy to like just slap tape on something and be like, yeah, 250 quid, please, like. And then there was another guy who came in and was expensive, but like was super efficient, young, tattooed up to the hilt, talking about he's got like 3 kids and shit like that. Like, he looked like at the time I related to him. He was like listens to metal, like smokes, drinks, like fucking like kind of came up rough and all because his parents are jokes and stuff like that. Like, but he's like absolutely crushing it with this fucking. I don't know if he was solely a plumber, but it was something to do with the shower, and he said he worked for a shower company doing installations and shit, like. So he actually did a bit of tile work as well, like. But like when this chap came in, it looked like a bomb hit the place in the space of 15 minutes, and you could tell he was sweating at the brow, like really getting in there and solving the problem. And then when he was done, it was like he was never there. He was so clean. Like, do you know, like the difference between like one of my painting goos, it's like funny and like irreverent and messy and cartoonish and all, and then you see one of my symmetricals and you're like, oh, that's sharp. Do you know, like people have been like, fucking like, did you do that? Is that done digitally? I'm like, no, I did that freehand, bitch. Well, semi freehand, like because I draw it out first. But I don't like I don't use like compasses or rulers or fucking anything. Like I just like do everything with me fucking, and I just use my eye to try get like clean lines and shit, And you can see that in other men in any fucking like uh in any form, like whether it be like art or carpentry, plumbing, like engineering, fucking like being a musician, like anything, like fucking even just owning a shop. Like there's an old man that owns a shop around the corner, and like he just has one of these attitudes that like makes you want to go to that shop and buy stuff from him because he has just like a really nice demeanor and like asks you how your day is. Like, do you know what I mean? Like an old school shopkeeper knows you by name, you know, like greets you every time you come in and shit. The odd time when you go in, like he's in the middle of a conversation with like two or three of the customers. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, always see people going in and out. He opens on Sundays when most places don't. You know, it's shit like that. Like where I'm just like, I was about to say, look how far we've fallen as a society. But it's so funny. Like I know, and I do act most of the time and behave very civilized. I love civilization. Civilization is not only hilarious, but it's also extremely utilitarian. Like, because I find nothing more entertaining than the Sherlock Holmes, British, really like really well to do, really highly educated, all the furniture is like really high quality, all the fucking like like the carpet is from fucking Mongolia or Egypt or some shit, and his light fixtures are Italian made, and like the desk is from Cairo, like all this crap, like, do you know what I mean? But there was a time where that was common. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously not for everyone, but it was way more common. Now we have this like, vapid, vacuous. For you people like Conor McGregor owns like a yacht, and it's just like I imagine Khabib like looking at that and just being like, why? Like the different ways people approach winning in life and the different perspectives and what their definition of winning in life. Like, fat stacks, nigga. Do you know what I mean? I got this bottle of water that cost me 150 grand. It's like, what? You call that winning? You spent $100,000 on a bottle of water. Like I've seen shows on YouTube where it's like and black people are like the black society is like big black society. There's a section of black culture in America that's big into that shit. Like, do you know what I mean? Where they like absolutely love decadence. The gold chains, the rings, the leather, the fucking feathers, the fucking like, and there's like different versions of it. There's like the pimp version, you know, like canes and hats and like purple and shit, like decked out in gold. And then there's the other version that's like modern bougie. It's like, ridiculously expensive cars, ridiculously expensive jewelry, but like obscure stuff. Like, that like what was that fucker's name? I can't remember. Was it 2 Chainz? I can't remember if it was 2 Chainz. He's going around buying bottles of water that cost 100 grand, and it's like, what in the name of God? It's got like a diamond encrusted lid. Like, what the fuck? It's it's a liter of water in a glass container with a diamond encrusted lid, and you're gonna pay like how demonic is that? Like, that to me is like an insane level of degeneracy and lack of awareness of self and the realm you live in. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, reality, such a detachment from reality, to have 100 grand allegedly, like, do you know what I mean? Because it could be like, it more than likely is all that branding, leasing bollocks. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like he doesn't actually own the 6.5 million that he's allegedly worth. His net worth is this, that, and the rest in millions and all this stuff. Like, so, like, he has the appearance, he has the hollow projection of having enough resources to be able to spend 100,000 US dollars on a bottle of water. But the reality is that it's all bullshit. Like, whatever about what's going on in Gaza the last like week or two, like, you know, like, supposedly all this like fucking horror happening, innocent people being blown to pieces like over fucking religious political bollocks by absolute demons. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, to be so depraved spiritually and even just logically to argue that that kind of violence should be done to anyone en masse. Like, don't get me wrong, if you have like a singular dickhead, like a cartel drug lord or some shit like that, who has like managed to carve a path up the ladder with like dirty dealings, assassinations, fucking, like, you know, manipulation, strategy, like, you know, hustle, and he's managed to get himself into a position where the dude like owns a fucking castle or some shit, like, you know, and has his own military and all this shit, and is like actively oppressing the local population, you know. Yeah, drop a fucking Moab on that cunt's compound, sure, you know. But even then, I would be like, how can we ensure that all the women and children involved in his, uh, you know, in his operation, how could we ensure that like all of them are gone when we strike, you know? Because like in any scenario, you don't want to. It's like, yeah, okay, strategically, probably the most cost-effective way to end this chap and get rid of his tyranny is to just like launch a few predator missiles at this dude's compound. It's not going to cost us any men. It's this, that, and the rest. But it's like, but the collateral damage would be insane. And they're like, whatever. It's like, no, like, do you know what I mean? Like, the way you're not supposed to. I suppose you can't really argue logically, really, that you're supposed to do it. I mean, like, who says that? But like, the seemingly proper way to approach conflict is with a modicum of honor. Do you know what I mean? Men are supposed to kill men for various reasons. You know, men are not supposed to kill women and children for any reason. You know, that's an animal thing to do. A lion kills the cubs of the previous, uh, like, you know, alpha male. Like when two fucking alpha lions cross paths over territory or whatever, and one of them wins and either injures the other so badly that he's gonna go off and die, or he just like beats him and your man just leaves, or he straight up kills him. The first thing he does is kill all the babies. It makes sense if you're purely an instinctual animal that you would do that. But we're not animals. Do you know what I mean? Like, and all these people that argue that, like, you know, oh, but we're just like a different kind of animal. It's like, no, we're not animals. Like, we clearly have like a major difference between us and them. I believe like, because we are conscious to the level that we are conscious, that we have a responsibility to be kind of stewards of this place and the things within it, you know. Like I believe there could be an era, or was an era and could be again, of like, you know, you'd have these relationships with your environment that are just so harmonious. I don't see why you couldn't have um large, typically considered dangerous animals just like around all the time in our environment. Like, do you know what I mean? Like the same way Indians ride around on elephants, even though like an elephant is an elephant. An elephant can wreck the place if it wants to. But culturally speaking, they have a really good relationship with those animals, and you could argue that they've domesticated a lot of them. But at the same time, apart from like again instinctual territorial shit and stuff like that, or like the wrong season, you know, mating season or something like it is possible to approach animals in the wild in such a fashion that they don't regard you as a threat and they don't then behave in an aggressive way as a result, you know, like there's ways to behave in this place, and to me it seems really blatantly obvious when you behave poorly or against the grain, like, you know, it's like when you're like it'll be like watching a fucking YouTube video from like the early 2000s or some shit, like, or even these days I suppose, but like, you know, actually that did happen recently enough where like there was like uh a viral trend where people were like looking at this like tiny little like sea creature, this like fluorescent white blue black fucking little alien fish looking thing, and apparently that thing uh, feeds either on the waste or on uh, the jellyfish itself, like the man of war, which is like highly toxic and venomous and shit. But these things like look relatively harmless, but they're like funky looking, like, do you know what I mean? And that's like a fundamental number, like uh, when you're in the wild 101 is like if it's like got mad colors to it, don't fucking touch it. Like, and a lot of people got like really badly hurt. They'd be like, you know, putting them on like, you know, they'd have the phone out and they're like, oh, look at this fucking amazing creature and all, and it's like it's in a little like pool of water on the beach or some shit, and they like scoop it up with their hand. They're like, oh my god, it's so cool, like, and then like the next video is him in A&E. You know what I mean? Like, fucking be like just carted into a hospital. Like, we're losing him. We're losing him. I just like a sense of humor really is like one of the most fundamentally important things to have, because on the daily I like just I don't even experience, I just witness the behavior of other supposed humans, people, mortals around the realm, and they just engage in such behaviors where I'm like if somebody was to ask me, you know, I've said this multiple times before, it's like I don't think I'm like really intelligent. I don't think I'm like in the top percentages of like, you know, good looking or like even physically capable. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, as far as I'm concerned, in most aspects of my being, if you were to like take stats like an RPG character, I'm like sixes, sevens across the board, and then one or two stats is like an 8 or 9. I'm pretty good. Do you know what I mean? But I ain't no fucking stallion Chad fucking crushing motherfucker. You know? And whether that's just me being humble and I am actually an absolute legend, I don't fucking know. I don't like, and that's the God's honest truth. Like, I have that aspect of my personality where I'm like, I wonder if I could actually be an absolute badass. But I'm a bit lazy. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, when I'm tired, I'm like, I need rest, you know? I don't have that part of me that's like, no, push yourself to your limits. It's like, why? Like, most of the time, you know, obviously when it comes to like stuff that you genuinely want to get better at, or like you think really, really means something to you, you're passionate about it, like you stay up all night, you don't eat, you don't drink, you don't sleep, because you're just like in the zone. Of course, experience things like this, you know? But on the average, on the daily, life is to be, in my humble opinion, enjoyed, you know? What better way to be grateful for life than to enjoy it? To have joy in life. Is that not what like enjoyment is? I don't fucking know. Like what's do you know what I mean? It's like why approach life with this like, you know, like there's two aspects to what I'm about to say. Like I like there's a part of me that completely agrees with like, you know, gotta keep grinding, nigga. You gotta get the, you know, just get used to the grind, like embrace the grind, like do you know what I mean? Life's tough, life's hard. It's like, yes, in a sense that's true. You know, trials, tribulations, everybody's got their demons, all that jazz. But from what I've discovered, to able like you know, there's that notion, that saying that I really agree with. It's like in order to be able to help anyone or anything, or to be even to like you know effective in the world around you, in any sense, one must fix yourself. You must, you know, for lack of a better term, clean your room, bucko. You know, look after yourself, physically, mentally, spiritually. And for those who don't believe in taking care of themselves spiritually, you're already off on the wrong foot. Do you know what I mean? I'm kind of blessed in the sense that, like, despite being quite secular as a result of bitterness, as a result of trauma, my secular side didn't come from me seeking knowledge or logic. My secular side came from me going, oh, okay, a lot of people don't want to just have fun. They're here to fuck people over. Great, now I have to figure out all this bullshit that people use to fuck people over with. Like, deception. I detest deception, unless it's in the spirit of fun, you know? In that sense, I am quite similar to Owen, where, like, you know, I probably would really enjoy pranking people. Like there used to be stuff like that on the radio here, like you know, where they'd ring up a business and be and just like have a dialogue, you know, and it'd be really funny. And some people would get really mad, like you know. But then after it, you're like, yeah, I was like, calm down. It's just a joke, like you know, it's a radio show. We do this all the time, like you know. And most people would be like, all right, yeah, all right, fair play to you, yeah, fair enough, yeah. Yeah, it's no, no. Now that I know you're taking a piss, it's actually quite funny. Yeah, like you know, but like then you like every so often you get the person that's like you know fucking ready to kill you because you fucked with them, like you know. It's kind of like that story I told before, where like if me mate won the lottery, the first thing he said he'd do, he'd like show up with a wrecking ball and fucking absolutely destroy your house, knowing that he's bought you a mansion, you know, just to experience that reaction from you, just to witness that reaction, for you to be like, "What are you doing? No, what the fuck, man?" And he's just like loving it, like because he's like using a wrecking ball to destroy a house. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, who does? What kind of male, especially, didn't have that like dream when you were a child? Like, you remember seeing Bart Simpson do that in The Simpsons? Like, you get into a wrecking crane and just like utterly destroy shit. Like, um, I don't believe in deception, lying. You know, for like pretty much most of the time. Like honesty is the best policy. Speaking truth, just staying true, just being straight. You know, in all the senses. You know, just be straight. Like, and it is. It's so funny that like people find me abrasive because I'm so straight. Like, but like in so many ways. Like I like that's also why I like sniping and painting. You know, like look at my symmetricals and stuff like that. Like I appreciate order. You know, but I have a childlike um I have this like love of chaos, you know. A a local Cayley, a local traditional Irish dance is one of the most chaotic and fun things you could do if you're around the right people. You have the fiddle, the Irish music, the diddly diddly diddly, like, and everyone's just dancing together. Like you know, it's basically line dancing, like you know, like group dancing. You all grab partners and like do all this shit and all, like you know. At first when you're learning it, you're like, what is this? Like, but if everyone's in it and everyone's doing the same thing, and these are all just like, he's all know the dance, and he's just like have a laugh, and like some people fall over, some people go too hard, some people are a little shy, and then you have to like bring it out with them, like, and then they turn out to be the fucking craziest people in the room. Like, come on, just get up and have a laugh. Like, oh, okay. Hey, like, Jesus, Mary, like, put that back away. Like, you need to cut loose. Like, you know what I mean? You need to, you need to get rid of that tension. And like, how people try and relieve tension now is they just like take a lot of drugs or um, get involved in like, just weird things that don't actually relieve tension. They just cause more tension. Like I found it hilarious actually when I was like like back when I was watching Jim Bob before he went psycho. I found the whole crucible thing fascinating. I was like, these people actually give a fuck about all of these like really in the weeds, like fucking subject matter and shit. That they're going to have such specific debates about like just one thing for hours and get really emotionally invested. And I'm just like, it's basically a world of impotent nerds who have never been probably like in a like I've never been in an actual street fight, but like they've never been punched in the face, whether with a glove or a bare fist or anything. Like, do you know what I mean? They just, you can tell by looking at them that you could just smash their face in really easily. Like, there's a vibe you get. Like, I just have that experience. Like when you're like, it's really noticeable when you're in somebody's presence. Like you could come across a dude who's like fucking like way smaller than you, and you're like, I would not fuck with that nigga because he just, his impeccable posture and the aura coming off him or some shit, the way he holds, the way he carries himself, like, it's like being like, like I can't tell when, like, I'm not really good at telling when somebody's strapped, when they're carrying a gun, because there's nobody does that here. But Americans see that straight away. He's carrying, you know, and like somebody is be able to tell what he's carrying, you know. I wouldn't be able to fucking tell that shit. Like sometimes I'd be able to like, oh yeah, he looks like he's carrying, but like I could be wrong. Like, do you know what I mean? I just like see a bulge and be like, oh maybe he's carrying, and it's just a utility belt because he's a builder or some shit. I don't fucking know. Like, but that other shit, like, fucking like getting somebody's vibe in terms of like how physically capable they are or could potentially be. Yeah, my radar for that's really good. Like, so, like, and there's just so many of these guys who just, I'm a Christian. I'm devout to the Christian and stoicism, and I hit the gym, and I got my my hitting my PRs and like all this shit, but I'm clean. I don't do any of that fucking creatine shit. Like, and these guys who think they're chads, like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's what, like, I think I've cracked the code in that. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's similar to that trope where like a comedian tells a joke, and it's like, um, if if you're wondering who it is, then it's you. That kind of thing. Where it's like, if you genuinely think like, I'm a fucking, yeah, I'm a badass, like, do you know what I mean? Like, then you're more than likely a absolute bellend, like, like I'll what would be the term? I will jest that I'm like a fucking, like, despite like out of painting goo, even, like, like, because I'm a fucking legend, that's why people love me, like, I'm great. But like, that's just me being like confident and playful. Do you know what I mean? I don't actually think, I don't have this like high esteemed opinion of myself, and you can tell. Like, people talk to me like, do you know what I mean? And like, I couldn't give a bollocks like, about most things. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm actually really spiritual. Do you know what I mean? Like, I quite often ponder death, and like sometimes I'm like, oh, sometimes I just wish I'd randomly like get hit by a truck or something, and then begin a whole new adventure. Because a lot of aspects of this realm like bore the fuck out of me, you know. Like, most people bore me, and I find them retarded. And I try not to let that corrupt my behavior and how I treat them, you know? But fuck me, it's difficult, you know? I mean, it'd be like trying to, a dog is a dog, you know? And like for those thinking, like, oh, you're comparing people to dogs? Yes! Some people are fucking straight up animals. They have, like, and it makes sense because free will exists. It's a choice. I choose to be a civilized thing. like, like whatever about human or people or these words that describe these things. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's so, like they've proven in the last couple of years that like people are so thick they'll just be like, oh, so this means that now, okay, and they'll just go with it. Like, do you know what I mean? These matrices of belief and thought processes and like mental states and like mind frameworks of the mind. Like, you know, it's like that's why I love Mike Tyson so much. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people think all this shit and then they get punched in the face. Like, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, their whole like realm is shifted. Like, like I've been punched in the face enough times that like when I get punched in the face, I'm like, familiar territory. Like, I feel at home. Like, I miss sparring. Like, do you know what I mean? I like being hit and hitting things. It's no different than any other athletic activity. Like, do you know what I mean? There's something about throwing an American football that I really enjoy. You know, the shape, the way it fits in your hand, the way it allows you to pull off that spiral throw and like really chuck the thing. Like, do you know what I mean? Like a fucking missile. And like, I just don't understand why so many people. Well, I do understand, but it is unfortunate and produces quite often a sense of melancholy within me because I don't think like most of the time I think I'm fucking retarded. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, oh god, that was a stupid thing to do. Like, do you know, like. So I don't think I'm overly intellectual, like, you know. But given the evidence, I'm like fucking leaps and bounds like ahead of like most people in most aspects. Like, do you know what I mean? Obviously, there's going to be things that people know that I don't know, that, like, especially if they're older or if they've experienced different shit. But like, even when I'm talking to people that seem really nice, do you know what I mean? Quite often, they're the ones that actually end up being more annoying because they're so fucking gullible and naive. Like, it's like, oh, well, I'm just a nice person. It's like, well, that's your fucking problem, isn't it? Like, a bit of aggression now and again, please. Like, like sometimes forcing something works. Do you know what I mean? Like, you ever seen two people trying to fucking like build something, like, you know, like one, not even two people, like you're trying to marry two bits of wood together, like, you know, without actually using any dowels or screws or nails or glue or anything. You're just doing it the Japanese style of just like cutting shapes into wood and then fitting them together like a puzzle piece, like, you know. Quite often, like, you do that, and as a result of things like friction and fucking, like, you know, whether you cut it like a little bit too tight or some shit like that, like, you need to get a fucking mallet and you need to hammer that bitch in place, you know. I think that's what society needs, you know. It's like people are like, he wants to be a dictator. Society needs a good hammering. It must be hammered like steel into place. This place is too fucking, like, it's just so pussified and inefficient. My German's starting to come out now. Warum ist everything so scheiße? Like, oh god, right. Been just sitting here for an hour and 5 minutes. Thank God Iron Man Bear hasn't showed up because he'd be fucking. He'd be beside himself. Watch, he's gonna show up in a minute now. Right, hang on a sec. Got some fucking tunes going. We're going to the Czech Republic for the second. This is the second attempt. On Wednesday, I tried different paints and was horrifically dismayed at the result of the paints I chose to use. Way too shiny. Oh god. More water, as Father Jack would say. Way too fucking shiny that shit was. I actually like in most instances, like unless you're doing it on a canvas or some shit like that, depending on what you're doing, most instances I find a shiny, like a painting that when light hits it has a shine to it, like that plasticky shine to it. I fucking it disgusts me on a deep level. Really does. Oh yes, some opaque white paint that arrived this morning. Ordered it from the Amazon jungle. Will we have a clarifying ding, just to annoy sleep deprived bear when he watches this. Commence PEINTEINGU. Right. I've got my bitches. They're all ready to get nice and wet. Garlos is here for moral support. Reminding you all to like and subscribe, you cunts. Or I will take that bucket off his head. And you will regret it. So, first, the big bitch. Get her nice and wet. The hair all the way down to the bottom. You want the hair like wiping the bottom. Like you're trying to use the top of our head to like clean the bottom of the bucket. Then give her a good battering about the sides of the bucket. And then you use your royal rag to clean up all the evidence. That is the protocol of bitch care here on PEINTEINGU. For anyone who doesn't know already. Right. We have a nice opaque white. We have a squirty squirt to get the flow going. I already tested this stuff out. This is fucking gooey goodness. Gooey chalky goodness. Right. I mixed some blues over the last couple of days, and like, oh my god, some of the colors. I get addicted to it. I'll sit there for fucking 2 hours solid just mixing paint, getting different colors and hues and shit. Like, it's fucking so addictive. I love it. Right. A round of music to permeate your soul as we begin. It's Friday. Let's finish the week stronger. Oh, it's that time again. PEINTEINGU. 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 Let's paint a sky. Make it blue. PEINTEINGU. Bit of white. Let's fucking go. PEINTEINGU. 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 It's PEINTEINGU. Painting me. Painting you. It's PEINTEINGU. Let's fucking go. Yeah. Look at that. Look how beautiful. Look at that blue. Beautiful blue. Beautiful blue. No, you get that out again, actually. Oh, it's gooey. I love it. It's very gooey. Here on PEINTEINGU, we love the goo. You love it. Gooey goodness. Thick, opaque paint. Chalky matte finish. That's what we fucking want. With that cartoon look. My cartoon sword. Tiny squirt to create the fro. Let's get a sky going. Bitch's hair came loose. Aww. Wouldn't like a bit of shamisen. Get the chi moving around the veins. We're off to the Czech Republic. Number 55. I'm gonna attempt to replicate the same basic structure of the first attempt, but now with the goo colors, the goo paints. So, I am only using pre-mixed paint that I've mixed myself. Here is my glorious box of good painted gooey goos. Now, some of them will be, most of them should be opaque because of how I've mixed them and what I have mixed them with. However, some are not entirely opaque, some are transparent, especially the whites. You can see right through the cunts. Apart from this new shit. This new shit is fucking wild. I can't wait to do some crowds. Some frothy crowds. Dark green. Dark green. Dark green. The darkest of greens. Got a lot of green. But there's not a lot of green in all the greens that I've got. If you know what I mean. Got a lot of green, but there's not a lot of green in the green that I got. I'm gonna need to mix more green. A shit ton. It's actually kind of frustrating. Right. These little pots are dead handy though. And they're cheap as fuck. I ordered like a couple of hundred or some shit, like packs of 50 food pots, and they're brilliant. They're so handy to put the paint in. They're like deep enough and wide enough to put any brush in. Well, not any, most brushes. Like the big bitch doesn't fit in, like, you know, let's put just the corner in. But most brushes that I use go right in, and then there's an edge on it that you can use to, like, you know, properly load the brush and stuff, like. But they also have enough in them that if you need to, you can still just pour it out, you know. And the lids are like totally airtight. I love it. Right, how dark is this bitch? That is the question. It's pretty dark. It's almost brown. fucking basically is brown. So some of the colours I mixed are so weird because they have this like marbling effect. Like what? Oh, you can't really see it on the lid. It's basically the same colour as this, which is like, you know, a browny green, you know, like a dark browny green. But then as I mixed it, it just became entirely brown. Right. Bing, bing, bing. Bing, bing, bong. Bing, bing, bing. Bing, 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 bong. Painting goo. It's painting goo. Let's fucking goo. Painting goo. That's actually a nice colour. Bing, bing, bing. Bing, bing, bing. Beautiful matte finish on this bitch. Almost like immediately chalky and matte. It's very shiny now because it's beautiful and wet, but give it a minute. And its glory will be all present. Painting. I love that bit. It's so metal. That's so metal. Like it's actually so funny though. Like I actually really want like I've pondered before like learning how to play guitar, but I really want to learn how to play a shamisen. Like, I actually really like this. It's a really nice brown. Very chalky. Very opaque. Oh! Get it into you! Right, time for the water. Yeah. I might actually stick on on. I might just go straight into this, considering like we only have like 40 minutes left. I'm gonna call it a day and get some food into me. I'm gonna set this bitch up though. PEINTEINGU's time slots are probably going to change a lot over the next few weeks. I have a lot going on, so it might go from like 2 p.m. to like fucking 7 p.m. or some shit, and then might change back again. We just have to see what happens. You just have to stick around, see how it pans out. PEINTEINGU, PEINTEINGU. Defender, what kind of mad music you listen to? Mad music. I fucking love it. Need some brew in my life. It's not dark enough. Oh, that's nice and dark. Am I talking about the music or the PEINTEINGU? Both is the answer to that question. Oh, look how... Like, look at that. That's a deep, oily blue. Love it. PEINTEINGU. PEINTEINGU. I should have played this at Halloween. I'll do stuff like that in the future where I'll do like themed episodes. It would be funny if I had a load of costumes going, like, you know. I really want to get a Nazi uniform. It'd be so funny to paint while dressed as Hitler. I'm back, bitches! Witness the life! Sieg Heilingu! I don't think that's the one I meant to put on. I thought that La 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 ended a lot quicker than that. Oh, it did, yeah, okay. I don't remember the start of it being all like demonic children. But then again, I just have tunes on in the background while I'm painting. While I'm doing the other stuff. And a lot of the time I'm not arse like changing the song, just let it ride. Get the big bitch out. Look how much better that is. Practically no shine once it's dry. Beautiful. some funky shit. The beautiful deep shade of blue. Beautiful deep shade of blue. Tiny squirt. To aid the flow. The flow of AIDS. Oh! Oh yeah! Ah! A bit of that gooey white goodness. Beautiful, rushing, flowing water. Excellent. Oh, it's just a lot of horror movie noises, that's what it is. What's the other one then? Oh, that's a bit sexual now. None of that now.
Andrew just got 40% off on IPL.
Let's put on some new tunes. Ooh, ah, oh Jesus.
Now he's sharing his silky smooth dad bod.
I want something that slaps hard, but not like that.
Share the joy this Amazon.
How about you share yourself with the locals, you whore? Get off my stream. Fucking bitch. What's this one like? This one turns out to be a bit shit, I'll change it. Alright, time for some green. But brown goo and blue goo. Time for some green goo. Fucking open, you fucking bitch. Oh yeah, that's more like it. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. I remember this one. I like this one. Very horror-esque as well. But it's like, yeah, it's like 80s horror. Oh. Fear not, the shine will fade momentarily. Now, I made a grey. Let's see if it works. I just whip out a little alien. Hey, I made a grey earlier. Let's see if it works. It's just like, just downloaded the fucking files from Area 51's fucking cloud server. How to make a grey in 24 hours? You need a 3D printer and a lot of water. Oh, this is the same shit. I remember some of these being really cool. Yeah, fuck it.
Greetings all. I am Elon Musk.
Greetings
And
all.
today
I
would
am.
like to introduce you to quantum AI.
Haro.
The world's first
Hey,
quantum
what?
computing software
I
developed by my team. With a success
There's a reason I've been using these tunes for ages. They're just too good. It's too fucking good, bro. Might start doing Metal Mondays. Yeah. Let's see.
It's pretty much exactly the same as. I'm actually quite proud of how similar it looks to the other one. Just minus the intense glare. Still a bit of glare, but obviously you're going to get glare if you're using water. I hope you've been hitting the right button, because I can't see it anymore. Sip, sip. Time for the wubs. You've never seen paint dry like this before. This is one of my new favorite sayings for the stream. And I don't know why I say that particular line as if I'm some sort of pirate. Far less shiny. Far less shiny. It'll be even less shiny once I get some layers on this. Really get in there. Just some details and shit. Oh!
I was having.
How fucking dare you! I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times, you're not welcome on my stream, you bitch!
My wife.
Fuck you and your wife. Look! You do some fruffy crowds! While we wait for that shit to dry.
PEINTEINGU. 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 That's more like it. Pomposity makes me hoppity. Oh no, this is the best painting stream you've ever seen in your life. We all know this. Look at those beautiful fluffy crowds. Listen to the tunes as they permeate your soul. Look at my ridiculous hair. Just makes the music even better. I can feel it wobble on the top of my head.
We sit in the sun, in wait, we sleep, and we dream. Each of us dying slowly in the prison of our minds. We sit in the sun, in wait, we sleep, and we dream. Each of us dying slowly in the prison of our minds.
I don't know if I have a black in there. Fuck.
Is it a new world, or will it consume us all?
Missing a black.
You're gonna fucking die if I ever get a hold of you, you little bitch! The fuck off my stream. Kill you with a small brush.
I demand to know what's going on in my house.
Is it a new world or will it consume us all?
We sit in the sun, in haze. We sleep, and we dream. Each of us dying slowly, the prison of our minds. We sit in the sun, in haze. We sleep, and we dream. Each of us dying slowly, the prison of our minds.
I've recently grown quite fond of shades of grey. And I don't mean that pornographic dribble. I mean actual shades of grey. Right, you have to put a road, a table, and a ninja. I think we're gonna put the road like in between the buildings or something. Paintingu, 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 paintingu. Paintingu, goo goo, goo goo. Where's my brown? Alright, there's a road.
Free mobile customers.
You're free slapping them out for you, you bitch, if you don't get the fuck away from me. There's a road. Set up the road there. Might set up another one. I might not. Probably. Right. It is beginning to form. Our next destination, the Republic of Czech. Right. The Czech Republic has been set up. All it required was a second attempt. Are you serious? I'm in the middle of my outro and you must say shit again.
Beef sirloin roast.
Impudent swine. Right. We have our buildings, we have our landmass, we have our sea. On Monday, I don't know what time, but on Monday, a road, a table, and a ninja shall be introduced to the Czech Republic, and we will no doubt see what happens. Until then, this has been Paintingu. I have been Defenderu, and happy birthday to me, because it's my birthday tomorrow. It's the only thing I can think of to rhyme with that. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed Paintingu. It will return Monday at some point. I'm not sure what time. My routine is fluctuating. So, I will see you again soon. In the meantime, be good, be true, and be beautiful. Support the stream, press like and all that shite. Check out my links, buy some merch, perhaps a hoodie with a duck on it, wielding a shotgun, you never know. I'll see you again soon. God bless! And do something beautiful. Think beautiful.